Hi, my name's Peter Vaughan and I'm known to be a numerologist, but not many people actually understand what numerology is. So in this short clip, as much as I can keep it short because I seem to go on a long time, I'm going to point out a few things to show you what numerology is. If you want to learn something really good, look at this. First of all, I've got up here, is this numerology? What I've got up here is nothing to do with numbers per se, the same as nothing to do with letters, because letters make words and numbers make concepts and understanding. So if I pointed out that here's you, this little black stick person here, just purely means that you as a person, and then you have an environment around you, hence the word environment. So you interact with your environment and your environment interacts with you. And from that we get a sense of what's happening around us. Now right from little people, when we were first born, what happens there is we're infused with information coming in from the outside world. And what that does is it causes us to have a brain program set, or begin to become set, creates your personality. Create your personality through the use of your name. Now I'm using a name here, fictitious name called Kylie Barry. The reason I've done that is to show you how I work this stuff. We have an ability to think with our thoughts due to language. We can't have thoughts without language to describe them. So here's the formation, building blocks of our language. It's made up of 26 letters in the English language, and each of the numbers under the letters represent what that letter means numerically. So this is something that the Hebrew and ancient Greeks would use. So if A is the first letter of the alphabet, it's got number 1 under it. But J just happens to be the 10th letter of the alphabet. I'll put 10 up here, I've got 11 next to it. 1 plus 0 is 1. So although I've got 1 to 9 and 1 to 9 repeating and 1 to 8, because that's what Z, or Z for our American friends, represents, each of the letters therefore are valued but have a different shape. And it's the shape that represents the key interpretation of numbers into letters and letters into numbers. So there are also numbers that people are afraid of. A lot of people, for example, are afraid of the number 13. No number as no letter is negative, but they have different qualities. And once you understand what those qualities are, you can use them to your benefit. There are ways in which you could use these numbers in ignorance that would be to your detriment. So looking at this then, I've called them cluster codes 11, 13 and 16, which would be reduced to 2, 4 and 7 if I was to add those numbers together. In the meantime, let's come back over here. So you think thoughts and you have a language to think it with. Even though, depending on what languages you speak, if you know English, I'm using English, a tool of language called English that you can communicate with your brain. Try very hard not to think of a green Granny Smith apple or a green apple, and you can't help but see one. So language creates thoughts in the mind. Now down here, this person born has a date of birth. And in this instance, I'm going to call that this person born here was born on the 18th of November 1996. I've called this person Kylie Barry, just purely 2 names. Now, if you add 1 and 8 together, you'll get 9. If you add the 2 numbers in November, which is 11th month of the year, 1 plus 1 equals 2. And if you add the whole lot up, 9 plus 2 is 11, and 1996 adds up to a 7. And if you add those all together, you'll get the number 18. And 1 plus 8 equals 9. And that's how that particular part comes together. But this particular person we've made called Kylie here, born on the 18th of November, 1996 has passed. So we're now looking at a time thing. So the great thing about numerology is it's not a fixed position in time, like right now is right now. When I started this video, it was now the past compared to where it will be by the time I complete the video. So we're looking at a movement through time. The wonderful thing about numerology is you can go anywhere in time, backwards, present or forwards, and start to see what will happen by proving what has happened with the same formulas. And this is something I've been studying for 40 years. So I'm an expert in this field. And if you don't know much about it, you can't argue. You can only argue with something when you're up to the play. And I've had many a skeptic turn their head around and go, my God, this is amazing. So, when we're looking at a person's name then, or up here on a birth date, we could say that this Kylie, a birthday 18th of November even last year, because it's now 2020, last year will have on the 18th of November again their birthday, but in this year. Now, 2020 is 2 and 2 is 4. 1 and 8 is 9, and November is 2. So if we add those two numbers together, the 9 and the 11, we will get 9 and 11 is 20, which is 2 if you add the 0 and the 2 up, or 9 and 2 is also 11, which comes to a 2 anyway. So this birthday here is always going to equal the number 2. I'll make that a bit darker. So if the number 2 is always with this birth date, not so much the year because that's gone, 18th of November 2020 is 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is 6 there. So that is what this Kylie person will be in a particular period of time, which has a 6 valuation. If numbers go from 1 to 9, as they do in our universe, to give you an example of that, the word sun, I'm just going to write this up for a moment in here, which is what we orbit. That has a value of 1 and 3 and 5. S has a value of 1. U has a value of 3. And N has a value of 5. Or we could say that N is the 14th letter of the alphabet. We could say that S is the 19th letter. I'll actually go the way it should be spelt. If that's true, then I'll do it this way. S is the 19th letter, U is the 21st letter, and N is the 14th letter. 1 and 9 is 10, 12, 13, 14, and 4 is 18. 1 and 8 equals 9. So the word sun, therefore, equals 9. 5 and 3 is 8, 1 is 9. Did you know that the Earth rotates around its own solar axis as it's going around 27 times every time the sun does one revolution? So what does 2 and 7 equal? Well, it equals 9. And if that's not just so, what about the moon that rotates on a cycle around the Earth 27 days? Now that's approximately, it's just a variation there, 27 days. And that's again another 9. So this number 9 seems to work everywhere, including in A to I, J to R, and S to Z, or Z. Now if I look at the name Kylie, as I said I was going to do a moment ago here, I can go under there to K, which is a value of 2, the Y is 7, the L is 3, the I is 9, and the E is 5. That's by taking it from this bottom row. 2 and 7 is 9, 18, 21, 26 equals 26, which equals 8. But if I take Kylie and its full complement up top, to show you that there's no variation here, it's just a lower level and a higher level of understanding of this particular subject. K equals 11, Y is 25, L is 12, I is 9, and E is 5. 1 and 5 is 6, and 2 is 8, and 9 is 17, and 5 is 22, 22, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50, 5, 6. Forgot the one at the top. 6 and 2 equals 8. So it doesn't matter which way I put numbers together with the letters, they will still come to that same final digit. Now, this means you can't manipulate things to make them work for you. You're just looking at them deeper. So the deeper you go in this particular subject, you're going to find out that you can look at a person's personality makeup, because I go into areas which is not around me, of the brain. I've got placards to hold up, and the human brain and parts of the brain that have all of this functioning going on inside. That enables you to think. Down here, it's almost like I've got a reckoner, a ready reckoner. When I'm finding out an annual movement or a monthly movement or a daily movement for somebody, I can use the numbers 1 to 9 across the top and the 1 to 9 down the bottom. 1 to 9 to represent the person's personal matters, and the environment, 1 to 9, to look at the environment on the outside. Now, if I was to take a glass and put water in it, I'd have a glass of water. But if I put salt or sugar in that glass and mixed it up, I'm either going to have saline or sucrose, depending on what it is. But now it's all mixed up. So here, I've got two ways of looking at things, and if anyone, by the way, has a number in themselves and a number in the environment clashing, coming together, there's an intensification. Some people may like in their tea a sugar, or in their coffee a couple of sugars. But if you put 6 sugars in your coffee, it becomes unable to be drunk. Well, some people do, I've seen it. So all the way down, if we have a number on this side or a number on that side, matching the red dots down here, that means there's a clash. Now when we get a clash, we get a problem. These things called cluster codes come up. There are several kinds of clashes. There are clashes when you have you and your environment. If any one of these numbers here that you happen to be in, because they're forever changing, involves themselves matching up at the same time with any number below it, then you've got an intensification, and that means things can get kind of ratty in your life. And once you understand it, you can control it. Over here, sometimes you'll have numbers across the top that are you, and numbers across the bottom, which are your environment, but they're out of step by just one little bit. Now that little bit that they're out of step is when you have your birthday and you get 1 year older. It moves over, and see how those are all on diagonal? When I'm teaching this particular subject, I'm showing people that partway through a year, once you have your birthday, something happens to your name value, which is the letters, and it alters the way you feel about things. This is where personology comes in, and all the other aspects that control your psychology. So, looking at things the way I teach people this, and even down here, can you see these purple dots I've got standing down here? They actually come in the second level down here, and they go to the second level here. Because if I go 9 plus 2, that's 11. That's one of my cluster codes. And if I go 8 plus 3 is 11, or 5 plus 6 is 11. So no matter what those dots, those purple dots lining up on, they will always equal the number 11. So when you and your environment, if you happen to be a 6 person and your environment happens to be in a 5 pattern, you'll have some absolutely interesting facts happen. In fact, sometimes they're quite dangerous. We had a former parliamentarian die early this morning in New Zealand time, today being the second day of February 2020. And he died early in the morning. And on his particular chart, a chart looks a bit like that. On his particular chart, what I drafted out, he died at the right time. He died with these number 11s. Now, no number's bad, it just fits a particular bill. However, the green ones here, the green ones now say, if we go from this 9 column down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 and 4 is 13, 8 and 5 is 13, right down to where we've got 4 up here and 9 that way is also 13. So we've got 11, 13 and 16 at times when you have got numbers which also will play havoc with a person. 16 does things with health, and you learn big lessons from it. 13 is one that causes accidents if you haven't prepared for it. So there are times if you knew this ahead of the moment, you can overcome problems. Not just that, you could sort out exactly who you are, what you're meant to be doing at exactly the right time, and benefit from it. So this is not a tool of saying, oh my God, there's disasters everywhere. It's a tool that says, if you know what you're meant to be doing at the right time, no different than driving a car when you come up against a stop sign. The stop sign says stop, so you stop because you know about it. But if you weren't looking, you drove right through a stop sign and a car comes and whacks you in the side, it's because you weren't paying attention. This is where this comes in handy, because it means that we can look ahead of the moment and tell you what's coming up and you can prepare for it. One such time where I saved my own life, we had some massive earthquakes down in the lower South Island, because New Zealand is 2 main big islands, and I was doing training down there. And one weekend when I happened to see that it was a dangerous time for me personally, and I looked at the environment, I made sure that I flew out the day before the number patterns got serious. In fact, they got serious, they were all together. They called them a cluster at that stage. So I flew out on February the 21st, and the buildings that I was in on the 22nd came down, and many people died down there at that time. Is it something I can advertise? No, because I'd be thrown away in jail. So I'm not interested in doing it that way, publicly scaring people. I train people so they can help other people. And this is really good stuff. So when I looked at Kylie this way and this way here, and I can find out that Kylie Barry equals the number 9, that's easy to do if I do this. 2, 7, 3, 9, 5, 2, 1, 9, 9 and 7. Now by adding those up, they will come to the number 9. 2 and 7 is 9, 12, 21, 26. I'll write 26 down. 2, 3, 12, 21, 21, 28. Did I get that right? 21, 7, 28. Yeah, so 28. None of this has been pre-done. I'm just doing it straight off ad lib. 6 and 8 is 14. 2, 4, 5, 54. And 5 and 4 equals 9. So each number has a particular meaning. And depending on where that number is found, I often say to people, is yellow a bad thing? Well, no, not really. So if someone threw a yellow flower at you, it wouldn't be too bad. But what if somebody threw a yellow truck at you or drove into you with a yellow truck? Yellow is common to both the flower and the truck, but it's not yellow that's bad. It's the thing that it's attached to. And unfortunately for our MP who passed away, the word death is something that we have assigned these letters to that word, and you know what that word means. In Egypt, they call it Ka, K-H-A. In Egypt, if you are born or you're alive, they call it Ba. These are real words from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. In fact, I might just have it handy. Here's a couple of them. In 2 volumes here, the Egyptian Hieroglyphic Dictionary, and here the vocabulary of the Book of the Dead. Now, they're not scary, they're just knowledge. So what I do now is I look at this and I'll say, underneath that, I'm going to put 4, because it's up here, it's number 4, D. E is 5, A is 1, T is 20, there it is there, the 20th letter of the alphabet, so I can reduce that to 2, and H is 8. Ka is 11, which is a K, or 2, and 8 and 1. 2 and 8 is 10 and 1 equals 11, which reduces to 2. Now, if I add this up, 4 and 5 is 9, 10, 12 and 8 is 20, it also equals 2. And BA, 2 and 1 equals 3, and in their Egyptology it meant life and alive. So when a person is opposite to death is born, at birth, being polar opposites of one another, birth, death, underneath that, I could put 2, 9, 9, 2 and 8, 2, 11, 20, 22 and 8 is 30. So, just because languages change or morph or develop, not many people realise and say, well, this is trickery. No, it's not. Because once we start to do linear movement and finding out what happened to you several years ago, which is what I do for people, or go ahead to help people make sure that they've got the right partner in life, living in the right house, got the right job, know when to move, when to expect to pay out money, when to accept to receive money. When people know this stuff, your life improves. Now, I've spoken to quite a few people around the planet on this. In fact, Bob Proctor, some people know of him. He did fronted the film The Secret, and the book which was written by a woman in Australia. But I spent 5.5 hours with him and Sandra Gallagher, that's his CEO, and they were stunned at what I could reveal with this. And I provided evidence for it right there in front of them at the time. So there's a huge amount of people who have used or looked at what I'm doing over the last 40 years I've been doing this, and now it's time for you to learn. So if you'd like to learn this, and you'd like to know a wee bit more about how I do this, I'm going to be starting an online course very soon. In fact, I've been speaking with the person who develops online courses because it's not my field of expertise, but we're going to overlay this in. So this year, probably in about 4 months' time, we will be now starting to put these courses out. If you're interested, let me know. I can then start maybe talking to you guys on Skype or Zoom or something, and we'll get it going that way, because I can't expect you all to come down here to New Zealand and spend several weeks here learning this stuff. It would take that long and a lot of practice as well to get involved in it. So, if you thought this was interesting, and I don't think I've left anything out in this discussion here, for the moment, no, you can always get hold of me on this particular email, peter@petervaughan.net. And that'll get to me. In fact, petervaughan.net as a site anyway has lots of stories that I put up. I put up stories about Donald Trump, and it looks now that he's not going to be impeached with something that I said he would be next president-elect. Now, I made that statement some time ago. I also made a statement online several years ago, a year before he became president of the United States, that he was going to be president-elect. I got laughed at. And I even said exactly how it was going to happen, that he would become president-elect at the very last moment before the election, when Hillary Clinton and Bob Proctor and Donald Trump swapped places. He took the lead and became the president. So these are the things that I've been able to predict way out in time. Imagine what I could do with you in your life when you could learn this and help other people. You could even earn your own money doing this stuff. There's no one on the planet doing this. Nobody. I've been around long enough to check it all out. So if you'd be interested in learning this, get hold of me here in New Zealand, and I'll be happy to help you out, and we can work something out on that. Thanks for watching, and enjoy what's coming up. Because 2020 this year, by the way, please, 2020, just as a finish off here, 2020, there, death is 2. We've got double death. I'm just going to put double death there. Now, this is not a frightening fact, it's just interesting, because all of a sudden we've now got this coronavirus come out from from China. And this virus has come out, and I've just been watching and looking at a feed on there. It was built and produced by the military in China, apparently as a potential virus, a viral weapon. Now, this is available online. It's not me pelting anything about Chinese people. I've got a lot of Chinese friends. However, if this is the case, I mentioned in my writings up recently that 2020 was a year that you have to take a lot of precaution on, because it does mean double death. The last time we had a double year like this was the year 1010, 1010 years ago. So 1010, 2020. I won't be here for 3030, so please take heed this year. 2020 is not a good year to play around with. Do everything right, plan everything you do, and look at all the details along the way, and you should be okay. If not, get hold of me. I do charge for private services, and also charge, of course, when I do my training. So you'll enjoy it anyway. And I've got a lot of people who still use my services. Looking forward to catching up with you. Peter Vaughan, signing out. This is the 2nd of February 2020. Whoa, 2222. What a big day this is for me. Catch you later.